Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun. Okay, so we're all hooked up. We're ready to disconnect the head. So let's pull it up a little bit and see how it goes. Oh, piece of cake. Oops. Hang on. Starting to bind at the end there. There we go. All right, there we go. We've got our second, or our first bar off. We want to check the threads. They're perfect. Everything's just as it should be. All right, there's the floor stand. Here is our first piece of material that's going to go up against that. And then here will be our second piece of material, and it looks like it's going to be just fine. I mean, you're not going to be able to get up this high anyhow because the head is here and the drill head, or the drill chuck, is about right here. So, you know, you're going to get within about that far. So I think we're in good shape. All right, and so that puts us right, we're just going to cut it right there on both sides. All right, let's do that, and we'll be back. Okay, so we're cutting the angle and yep, there it goes. And we're cutting right at the root of the tooth, so that the two will match together. And then we're going to put it on the mill and surface that so that we have a good match. So that was that, and this is this. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, you know, we really don't need to put this in the mill to square up those edges, because I'm going to braze this, and the brazing is going to fill in, and it needs to have a little bit of a gap anyhow. So all we need to do is square it up. Well, the first thing I did was put it up on top of some consistent blocks here. Now here, I want to make sure these are consistent, huh? Alright, let's see. These are from two different sets. No, they are not. Of course not. Alright, let's get something else. All right, so these are the same. So we had to get this thing up in the air so that we could braze it. And then, so I think this is going to be just fine. Now I'm going to set my straight edge up against everything to make sure that I got it squared up. That looks good. And now I'm going to measure between threads. And I'm a little shy. Open it up just a bit. And that leaves us a nice little gap for the brazing. Alrighty, now one problem we've got is this is galvanized. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go in and burn off the galvanized, and then maybe go in and you know, wire brush it a little bit and see if I can get off some of that residue. Alright, so we're going to burn the galvanized first. And I don't know if you ever welded galvanized, but you definitely do not want to breathe that stuff. Now, since we're dealing with a really small space here, I can, once that thing comes up to temperature, I can kind of get out of the way of its smoke path, and at the same time hold my breath. Well, I'll tell you, if it's galvanized, it's not galvanized much. That thing just cleaned right up. Well, there's a little bit of yellow right there. So yeah, it's got it. And then notice the blue on the metal below. So the torch pushed the galvanized fumes down to it. But we're drawing it out, so it's going to be fine. Get a little braze, or a little flux, and bit of brazing rod. And this stuff is kind of corroded, so I'm going to get a steel wool and clean it up a little bit. Alright, I'm going to get a piece of sandpaper. There we go. Cut off the very end. And we are ready and raring. All right, let's check this for straightness again. Distance is about the same, so let's throw some braiding on that. Now I know this is a cutting tip, but it's kind of my go-to torch head, unless of course I go to a bigger one or I want to do some long distance welding or something like that. You know, a lot of welding, then I come and put the other tip on. But this one's the one I kind of go to get the job done and not have to worry about it. Alright, so we're going to warm this up. Actually, let me get a little bit more temperature. Now we've got enough brazing in there to really do the whole job. You can't see it from that side. So what I'm going to try to do is just to draw the brazing over. And maybe not going to work. That looks pretty good. See what the back side looks like. Not too bad, except that I see that it jumped. That's interesting. Yeah, it sure did. Okay, so let's bring these in closer. Yeah, we got a little bit of a space here. All right, well, just heat it back up again. And hopefully it'll just drop down and sit in exactly the right spot. Turning the gas on wouldn't be a bad idea. I think that did it. Nice and straight. Okay, we're going to let that cool and then we'll come back in. All right, so now we just kind of come in and reshape that one tooth that got pretty contaminated with brazing. Well, actually 2 teeth, 1.5 teeth, if you're really trying to be accurate. And this file doesn't look like it's going to do the trick. Okay, so the next issue we want to address is we've got a what's the size of our pipe here? Our post looks like 3/8 75, but it drops down, and it drops down a substantial amount. So let's measure that. There it is. So we've got 3/8 19. Okay, 3/8 19. Yes. Now let's go over to our other stand, which is, you know, who knows? Probably 3/8 19 is some metric measurement. This stand here has a shaft size of, you know what, I want to write that down before I forget. Let me go over there and do that. Spin you around here, and let's go down to the paper. Of course you can't see it, and get in a little closer maybe. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is make a spacer, and it's going to be something like that. I'm going to want a small shoulder, something like that. And the inside is going to have a fairly thin wall, something like that. Right? Can you see that? Yep, you can. So our outside measurement, which is here and here, is 3/8 19. Right? I think. Let's do it again and make sure. Okay, I'm getting 3/8 So let's just do 3/8 Now we come over to our shaft itself. There it is right there. And we're going to measure that. And that's going to have the measurement of well, actually, this measurement doesn't matter. Now, what I did is you saw earlier, I put this on the lathe and I turned this down. I mean, it's rough, but it's still got something. And it's 100,000 smaller. So when I cut my sleeve, I've got at least some bit of a sleeve to work with. So we're looking at 6/54. And that's our hole size. 6/54. All right. We'll test it one more time and make sure. Measure twice, cut once. No, that's a little bit loose. There it is. 1, 2.5. We're going to measure from another area, and this is going to want to be a, not a slip fit, but I can't do a full press fit, but some kind of a tight snug, maybe 2/1000 over or something like that, and that's 7. So we've got all kinds of measurements on this, mostly because it bounced around and it was kind of hanging out there in the open air. But at least we got it down. Now, worst comes to worst, we can't get this thing to fit. We can always just drop the sleeve down on it and throw a couple of weld beads in there and it's locked in. All right, so the full depth of our measurement here, in order to make sure that we catch all of the contacting spaces, is, what have we got? 3, 4, 300. 4, 300. All right, so then all we need is, not even a 1/4 inch little shoulder here, and very small amount of space there, 50 thousandths, 100 thousandths, just enough to stop the head from sliding too far down. So let's just say 1/4. So let's make it a little under 1/4, and we can make this the total length 4 and 500. 4, 500. So then we'll have 200 thousandths shoulder, which is just about enough. All right, so we're going to cut a 4-inch 500 thousandth. You know what? Let's do all of them at the same time. And because this shaft, let's put it that way, this shaft and the other shaft are not the same, we've got to actually put a couple of sleeves in here too. Now, I'm wondering, could we just put them? No, we can't. Yeah. All right, so let's take some measurements from that. So this time our shaft size is important. And we have 8,750 exactly. Okay, we're going to cut two pieces. One is at 4 1/4 and the other is at 4 1/2. And let's see how this saw blade does, because it's reasonably dull. Well, Nick Collier here, and we're going to take this drill press project to the next step, which is to make these little collars so that the gear drive for the rack crank can rotate on the shaft. So these collars are made out of aluminum. I didn't happen to have a piece of aluminum laying around, at least not a convenient piece. you know, I had some triangle chunks and stuff like that. So, but I did have some steel, so I'm going to make these in steel, and hey, let's get started. All right, so I've got a little bit, looks like about a 3/4 inch piece of 3.5 inch 12L14, in fact. Well, just happened to have that, which makes it a little easier. So I think I can get my boring bar in there. Yes, I can. So we're just going to kind of start trimming away at this and get our hole out to about this size. Hey, let's do it. Okay, well, we got the ring cut, and we didn't have to take it over to the little lathe after all. Hang on a second, I'm going to undo this. Okay, so there's our ring, and turns out that I had to build two of them, of course, one for the top and one for the bottom. Now we need to take it over and drill a hole through it. All right, so we're gonna tap a 1/4 inch by 28 threads per inch hole here, and that calls for a number 3 drill bit, which is what we have. A little bit of oil, not that kind of oil, this kind. Bring it over. Drop it in. And this is a, you know, who cares where it goes in sort of hit drill hole, but if it's off too far to one side, it's not going to go in straight. So what I do is I set it up and get my pilot going and then rotate this around until it's perpendicular to the table. Then I know that hole's going to go in pretty straight. Looks good. We'll take this out, the drill bit out, and we'll put the tap in just to get a good clean start. Gee, that's a bottom tap. That's not going to work. Sure enough. All right, we got ourselves a regular speed tap. We will put a little bit of cutting fluid on here. Faster than I want it to go, really. So I had my thumb on the switch, and I just slammed the switch as soon as it jammed. So we'll get the T-handle. And we'll just crank down on this. There we go. Easy peasy. Allen head, and that one is done. Do the second one. There we go. Okay. Now let's see where these are going to go. Whoops, so we got a little bit of a sharp edge in there. I'm going to throw that on the lathe and just kind of hit it with the trimming tool. So be right back. Okay, so we're going to start the whole thing by squaring up this the end here. Let's see how wobbly it is. It's actually not too bad, but we'll square it up anyhow. Good, but you can see this thing's jumping around a lot, and we're going to have to bore it and cut the outside, so I want to get that in a little tighter. And at the same time, we're going to spin this around again and square up this edge. Oh, you know, this is why it's jumping around, because we got crap all over the jaws. Let's see what we've got now. Which side is it? All right, good. Much better. Much better. Since we're here, we may as well go ahead and bore this, and I'm going to pull it out just a little bit, just so that the chips have some place to go, and so I also know when the bit's going to get all the way through. Let's see how square that is. That's pretty good. I can live with that. Now let's put a boring head in there, or a boring bit. And you know, I was using this one earlier and it seemed to work pretty good. So I'm going to just kind of continue with this. And I think we can just be at that angle without a problem. We made it, but just barely. Well, in some ways that's not a bad thing. No, we didn't make it. Okay. Nope, next one. There we go. Give that a try.